Today I want to talk about ancient conflict resolution. This is something that 100% of our business owners deal with. It's dealing with conflict in the organizations. This person aren't getting along, or this person has a beef against this person, or this person is screwing up a workflow and this person can't get them to do it the right way. And we go back to the same thing pretty much every time. And I'm a Christian. I believe in the Bible. I believe what it says. But you don't have to believe everything it says in order to kind of glean some really good wisdom from this passage I'm going to read right here. So this is Jesus in Matthew 18:15 through 17. It says, "If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be as a Gentile, and basically let him go." Right? So why do I point to the Bible to talk about business? Like I said, this is just ancient wisdom, and it has to deal with relationships. One of the things that we deal with in these companies where there's this kind of conflict that the business owner's always getting pulled into, they almost always have some really kind of troublesome things going on in the culture of the business. It's not the healthiest culture. And if you want to improve culture, you have to improve relationships. If you're doing things that are putting people at enmity with each other, where they're not getting along, you've got systems that bounce people up against one another, then don't be surprised if your culture is not working. And conflict resolution is one of those rare opportunities where you get to address the relationship specifically. So the next time somebody comes into your office with a complaint about another person, or there's some kind of conflict, look at it as a beautiful opportunity to start building your culture. And here's how we're going to do it. So there's 4 things that are highlighted in those set of Bible verses. There's 4 things that are highlighted. This is what we tell our business owners to do. And this works. Like, I'm not telling you I think it works. I'm telling you that in the 20 years I've been working with businesses, this works, and it works really, really well. Step 1 is one-on-one. So if you've got a manager here and an employee here and things aren't working, or 2 employees and things aren't working, the person who has a grief, if he believes that somebody's done something to him, he needs to go to that person one-on-one. Not the water cooler, not the boss's office, none of that stuff. He needs to go to that person one-on-one, and he needs to tell him what has happened. He needs to tell him why he feels like he's been wronged, and he needs to see if this person will listen to him. Now, there's all kinds of communication skills that play into that one-to-one interaction that should start this whole thing off. And if you'll train your people on those skills, we're not going to get into that here. That's a totally different subject. But if they have empathy for one another, if they're good listeners, there's all kinds of verses in the Bible about being, quick to listen and slow to speak. But if the person's a good listener, when they go to them to say, here's how you screwed me over, here's how you did me wrong, and they actually listen to the other person's point of view, a lot of that stuff can be taken care of. But that's step 1. If step 1 doesn't work, then the answer still isn't go to the boss. The answer is, if I go to this person and I say, look, you're screwing this job up and you keep doing it consistently, it happens over and over and over again, they're like, you're full of it. You don't know anything about what's going on here. I go, okay, let me try this again. Let me go get the 3 guys that worked on you in the last job, and we'll all sit down and we'll talk about it and see if we can't uncover what's really happening here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when we get all of them in the room, or maybe when we get all of them in the room, you'll actually hear that it's not just my personal opinion, right? So that's step 2. Everything should be established, what the verse says, everything should be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. So what you're doing is you're saying, look, I want to make sure it's not about me. I want to make sure it's not just about my opinion. I'm going to go get 2 or 3 other people, and I'm going to bring them in, and they're going to have knowledge of the facts, and they're going to help us figure this out. That's step 2. If step 2 doesn't work, then you go, what the verse says, you go to the church. In this case, the authority figure is the boss. It could be a manager, I guess, but in most of the businesses that we work with, they're going to be somewhere like 20 to 150 or so employees. So this stuff escalates pretty quickly, and it's usually going to be in the boss's office. So if they won't listen to you one-on-one, and if they won't listen to you plus 2 or 3 other people, then you get to bring them to the boss. Notice the thing that you don't do is then go to the boss and say, this guy's off the deep end. He's not doing what I'm asking him to do. We've tried to talk to him. That's not what you do. You bring that person and probably the 2 or 3 witnesses along with you to the boss, and you set up a meeting and all of you sit down. Now, if the boss says, look, this guy, he's brought 2 or 3 folks with him, you're obviously kind of missing it here. We want to help you. We want to make this thing, a learning experience. We want to help you grow and want you to stay here and all that stuff. But you're going to have to change this behavior. You're going to have to change, how you're doing this or that. If they won't listen, then it's time to separate, right? So where we see this short-circuited almost always is somebody has an issue. They don't go talk to the person, or if they do, they don't do it in the spirit of trying to make things right. They yell or they scream or they get in a huff or blah blah. Most of the time, frankly, most of the time they don't say anything. They just go straight to the boss's office and they start gabbing in the boss's ear about how this person's incompetent and that person is incompetent and they can't get this done, they can't get that done right. And what does the boss do? The boss comes in, he allows them to skip over step 1. He allows everybody to step over step 2. He doesn't even address step 3 because the boss will then have a meeting with the employee who supposedly screwed up and say, here's what I'm hearing. And people are saying this and people are saying that, and we really need you to change, right? Or else. So the only thing that they really get into is the separation part, and it's held as a threat over the person's head. Now, that is not a productive way to do it. So what we tell our business owner clients is when somebody comes in and says, so-and-so is doing this, that, and the other, and you go, whoa, 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 whoa. Have you gone and talked to this person one-on-one? No? Okay, you need to go talk to them one-on-one. If they come back, I talk to them, he's still not getting it, you gotta do, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you have 2 or 3 other people that can go with you who have knowledge of the facts, and the three or four of you can sit down and talk about this? No? Okay, go do that. Person comes back, says, they're still not getting it. Whoa, 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 whoa. If this didn't work, I need all of you in here. We're not gonna talk about this person behind their back. We're gonna address this as a group. And then if the person doesn't listen, then the boss knows what they have to do. Now, a couple things happen right out of the gate. Number 1, people get upset when you won't give them an audience just to gab about their fellow employers, right? And you're gonna say, whoa, 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 have you gone and talked to that person? Well, no, well, you need to go talk to that person. And a lot of times they're not gonna do it. And that's okay, right? Because that would indicate that the issue is really theirs, not the person they're griping and complaining about. So don't lose any sleep over that. They're gonna be a little bit miffed at you because you're not gonna be their water cooler buddy to gossip, essentially gossip about the people they're working with. The second thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna get interrupted a lot less often. The third thing that's gonna happen is if you are diligent about this, these meetings are gonna be few and far between, but they have really big consequences. Because by the time this stuff reaches you, it has escalated to a point where they need to change because the evidence has been established, they've been confronted, hopefully in a loving, respectful way, and they're still choosing not to do it that way. And if they're choosing not to do it that way, they probably don't belong in your business. They're probably toxic to your culture. Now, the reason that this helps in culture is, notice, it is all about restoring relationships. So if you're struggling with conflict resolution, if you're sick and tired of people coming to you and telling you about all the crap that's happening, all the people that are not doing their job and screwing them over this way and that way, if you're sick and tired of that, then go to this model. And at the same time, enjoy an opportunity to really improve your culture. It's ancient wisdom. It works wonders. I'd really encourage you to put it to use in your business.